Ada first saw Caleb chained in the mercantile storeroom, his hazel eyes bruised with innocence and stark terror. Her throat tightened as she recalled the shadowy figure she'd seen fleeing the murdered rancher's cabin that night. Since witnessing her parents' tragic death at age 8, Ada had been unable to utter a single spoken word. Her Aunt Ruth gently nudged her forward with the basket of cornbread meant for the falsely accused prisoner inside. Caleb looked up as she entered, his voice cracking as he whispered, "I swear I didn't kill him, miss." Ada's trembling hands opened a small slate board and chalked 4 words that changed everything. "I know. I saw." The sheriff dismissed her written claim, arguing that a mute woman's chalk scratches were not admissible as legal evidence anywhere. Caleb studied her face and asked softly, "Will you help me prove my innocence before they hang me next week?" She nodded, her heart pounding with the terrifying weight of the promise she was making to a complete stranger. Each day, she brought him meals and they communicated through her slate, his voice, and long, lingering, meaningful glances. He learned that her silence was not a choice, but a prison built by trauma and the cruelty of fear. She learned that he was a drifter who had stopped to help the rancher repair a fence just before sunset. The real killer, the rancher's greedy nephew, Vernon, had been seen by Ada skulking away with bloodied, shaking hands. Caleb never pressured her to speak. He only asked her to write the truth and trust his gentle patience. One afternoon, he covered her chalk-dusted fingers with his manacled hand and said, "Your words are brave and beautiful." That touch ignited a spark deep within her, a warmth she had not felt since her mother's final lullaby. She began to teach him simple hand signs she had invented. A fist over the heart meant courage together. He would sign it back before the deputy took him to the cold cell, and she felt less alone. Aunt Ruth noticed the bloom in Ada's cheeks and warned, "Be careful, child. Loving a condemned man breaks hearts." But Ada's slate declared, "Loving a truthful man is never a mistake, no matter how short the earthly time." With Caleb's encouragement, she sketched a detailed map of the murder scene, marking Vernon's escape route through the willows. She also drew the distinctive silver brooch Vernon wore, a piece she remembered glinting under the 3/4 moon. The sheriff, a gruff but fair man named Hollis, finally agreed to investigate the brooch after persistent prodding from townsfolk. Caleb's trial was delayed 3 days, a fragile extension bought by a silent girl's relentless scribbled pursuit of justice. During those days, Ada and Caleb sat on opposite sides of iron bars, weaving dreams through slate and hushed laughter. He described the ranch he wanted to build, with a porch swing and a garden, if mercy set him free. She wrote that she would love to see morning glories climbing the trellis of a home built by his hands. He traced her palm through the bars and whispered, "When I'm free, I'll build that porch for you, Ada." Tears streaked the chalk dust on her cheek as she signed "Courage" and pressed her fist to his hardened knuckles. Sheriff Hollis rode out to question Vernon, who nervously claimed the brooch had been stolen a month before the murder. But Ada's drawing was so precise that the town silversmith identified it as a custom piece made exclusively for Vernon. Faced with this evidence, Vernon cracked and confessed, exonerating Caleb completely just 2 days before the scheduled hanging date. The chains fell away from Caleb's wrists, and the first thing he did was rush to Ada standing outside. He knelt before her, his newly freed hands cupping her face, and declared, "Your silence saved my life forever." She could not speak, but her radiant smile and the light in her eyes shouted a response louder than any voice. The town celebrated with a potluck, and Ada's slate was passed around with the story of her incredible brave courage. Children asked her to teach them the sign for courage, and she placed their tiny fists over their hearts gently. Caleb kept his promise and purchased a small plot of land with a creek and ancient shelter in cottonwood trees. He began building the porch first, playing the wood smooth so Ada's bare feet would never catch a splinter. She moved into a small cottage on the property, chaperoned by Aunt Ruth, and the days filled with sweet labor. They developed a rich language of their own. 2 taps on the shoulder meant look at the sunset together. He learned to read her expressions so precisely that she often joked on her slate that he was psychic. She discovered that his gentle bass humming soothed her anxious heart, especially during the thunderstorms that brought bad memories. One evening, while painting the porch swing sunflower yellow, he turned and said, "Ada, I love you completely." She froze, chalk clattering, then wrote with shaking fingers, "I have loved you since the storeroom's first light." He lifted her hand and kissed her palm, sealing the vow without needing any preacher's formal declaration of intent. The wedding was held on that very porch, with Aunt Ruth weeping and Sheriff Hollis proudly giving the bride away. Pastor Davis asked if she took Caleb as her husband, and Ada wrote, "Yes," in huge bold chalk letters. Caleb slipped a simple gold band onto her finger, a ring he had forged himself from his late mother's locket. That night, under a canopy of stars, he whispered, "You've given me back my life. Now I'll guard yours." As months passed, Ada's nightmares began to fade, replaced by the rhythm of the forge and Caleb's steady presence. They adopted a stray dog with 3 legs and named him Hobble, a creature who understood silent resilience completely. Caleb built a writing desk by the window, where Ada began chronicling their story in a leather-bound journal daily. One morning, she surprised him by baking biscuits alone, her slate reading, "I want to feed my beloved." He teased that her biscuits were as golden as sunflowers and twice as sweet, which made her blush deeply. Their love was not loud. It was a quiet river that carved canyons of trust through the hardest of stone. Vernon's trial happened swiftly, and Ada was not required to testify verbally because her written statement was finally accepted. Justice was served, and the shadow of the ordeal lifted completely, allowing the couple to breathe without any fear. Ada began teaching sign language to the town's children, using a system she and Caleb had lovingly expanded together. A deaf boy named Peter rode 30 miles with his mother to meet the legendary woman who spoke with hands. Ada wept as she signed with the child, seeing her own isolation mirrored and healed within that profound holy moment. Caleb built a small schoolhouse on their land, dedicating it to Peter and all children needing a silent voice. He told Ada she was not just his wife. She was a pioneer of compassion in a noisy world. On their 2nd anniversary, he gifted her a new slate, carved from rosewood, with "My Beloved" engraved beautifully. She gifted him a portrait she had secretly painted, depicting their porch under a sunrise, with Hobble at their feet. He hung the painting above the hearth, declaring it the greatest treasure of his entire life besides her smile. That winter, a blizzard trapped them indoors for 4 days, and they communicated entirely by sign and gentle candlelight touch. Caleb signed a long message, his hands moving slowly. "You are the verse my heart never knew it memorized." She replied by placing her palm over his heart, feeling the steady rhythm that had become her very favorite song. When the snow melted, they discovered that the creek had shifted its course, threatening to erode their beloved porch foundation. Caleb worked tirelessly to divert the water, his muscles straining, and Ada hauled stones beside him without any complaint. Together they saved the porch, and he whispered, "A flood is nothing compared to the strength of our partnership." The porch became a sanctuary where they hosted Sunday sing-alongs, Ada keeping rhythm on a tambourine with joyful precision. Though she still could not sing aloud, she signed the hymns, and the congregation felt the worship in her fingers. Pastor Davis remarked that Ada's silent praise often moved him more deeply than a full-throated choir ever could fully. One spring morning, a stranger arrived claiming to be a journalist wanting to write about Ada's heroic courtroom story widely. They were hesitant, but Ada wrote on her slate, "Truth shared breeds other truths, and my silence can speak volumes." The article, titled "The Girl Who Saved a Man with Chalk," spread across territories, bringing letters from other voiceless souls. Ada answered every letter personally, her slate smudged with love, her heart expanding with each new connection she made. Caleb would often find her late at night, candle burning low, writing encouragement to a widow or a terrified child. He would wrap a shawl around her shoulders and whisper, "Your ministry is bigger than this ranch, my love." They saved enough from the article's modest royalties to buy a printing press, which Ada used for a monthly pamphlet. The Silent Advocate featured stories of triumph, sign language lessons, and scripture verses about God hearing the voiceless cries. Their home became a way station for outcasts, and Hobble's wagging tail greeted each visitor with unconditional, joyful canine welcome. Years unfurled like a flag of grace, and Ada's hair began to show threads of silver among the chestnut waves. Caleb's own temples grayed, but his eyes still held the same hazel adoration they had in the storeroom cell. They never had biological children, but they raised Peter as their son when his mother tragically passed from fever. Peter thrived under their love and became a skilled carpenter, building doors for the church with his deafened hands. Ada's heart was so full that she often felt it might burst with gratitude for the journey she never expected. One evening, as the sun blazed coral and gold, she and Caleb sat on the porch swing, gently swaying. He signed, "I love you," with the simple gesture they had invented. 2 fingers pointing at eyes, then heart. She signed it back, and then, for the first time in decades, her lips moved with trembling, miraculous effort gently. A whisper, fragile as moth wings, escaped her throat. "Caleb, my heart. Yours, always." The words were imperfect, but true. Caleb froze, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks, and he pulled her into the tenderest embrace of his life. He had never needed her voice, but hearing it was like the first rain after a century of drought. She continued to speak rarely, only in the most sacred moments, and each word was a treasured pearl for him. They knew her trauma was not fully erased, but love had carved a small door in the wall of silence. The porch swing became their church, their haven, and the place where they renewed their vows every single sunrise. Peter married a kind woman who learned sign language effortlessly, and Ada painted their wedding portrait with joyful tears. Grandchildren arrived, hearing and deaf alike, and they all gathered on the porch to learn Great-Grandma Ada's special signs. She taught them that courage is a fist over the heart, and that love is eyes pointing at a soul. Caleb, now 80 and still sturdy, would tell the little ones about the brave girl who saved him with chalk. His favorite part of the story was always the ending, and she still writes me love notes every morning. Ada, her slate never far, held up her chalk and wrote for all to see. "Forever, my cowboy, forever." The legacy of their silent witness transformed the entire territory, inspiring a courthouse policy to accept written testimony permanently. When Ada finally passed, at peace in her sleep, Caleb placed a rosewood slate on her heart, chalk beside it. He whispered through his tears, "Go speak with the angels, my love. I'll be listening for your whisper." He survived her by only 6 months, his heart missing its rhythm, and Peter buried them beneath the cottonwood tree. Their porch swing still sways in the wind, and people swear they hear 2 voices whispering in the rustling leaves. The schoolhouse they built now bears a plaque reading, "Where silence found a voice and love won the West." Generations later, couples still visit the spot, placing their fists over their hearts and signing courage to one another. The story of Ada and Caleb proves that the deepest communication needs no sound, only a willing and attuned soul. And in the quiet of the prairie dusk, the chalk dust of a legend still writes redemption across eternity's vast sky.